I'm Jasmine Moradi, and you are listening to The Power of Audio, Science, and AI. My guest today is my new friend, Lauren McGuire. We were introduced to each other through our common friend, Kevin Perlmutter. They used to work together at the US top global sonic branding studio, Man-Made Music in New York City, where Lauren is the president. With soon 10 years at Man-Made Music, Lauren is the expert in sonic branding, music for television, and sound design of experiences. She helps marry the science of brand strategy with the art of culture and emotion. At their studio, they create music and sound to solve business challenges. They have produced music for the Super Bowl on NBC, IMAX, CBS News, and the sound of AT&T, City and American Express. The list goes on. Lauren comes from an advertising background, having worked at the Kaplan Taylor Group, and she studied Bachelor of Science at Montclair State University. In this episode, Lauren and I are going to discuss the ins and outs of sound branding in the age of COVID-19 and beyond. With that, Lauren, I welcome you and thank you so much for joining us. What a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Jazz. It's lovely to be here.
How are you doing and how is beautiful New York City?
Yeah, we are doing just fine, I think, as well as everybody else with two young kids, which means some days are better than others. But yesterday it was 51 degrees, so it felt like we're almost there. We're getting there. We're getting there to spring and a change as we remain buried in snow. But we really can't complain. And I live in Sleepy Hollow, which is a bit north of the city, so we have some space, and it has its own weird history and Halloween to it. So it's a nice place to be if you're going to be home.
Lovely. And I'm so excited to do this episode with you because just like me, you work in the magical world of sound and music. And I'm curious to know, what is your earliest memory of music as a child?
My earliest memory of music as a child, and it's such an interesting cultural point. So I grew up in a household that was very religious, that is no longer very religious. Like, my parents are less religious than they were at the time. And over time, we become a much more liberal and less conservative group. But the power of music from church, you really can't move on from that, and it connects in a really interesting way. And I still remember, a couple of years ago, I think Carrie Underwood did "How Great Thou Art" in a performance, and it just it still struck me in a way that was just got to the very bottom of your heart. So even though your experience changes or your point of views may change, the music brings up a feeling of how you felt at the time. Which I think is really interesting. And I would say that was one of community.
Very interesting. I mean, growing up in Sweden, we always saw, for me, church music, it's such a powerful and empowering thing. So yeah, that's lovely. But then from that, I'm interested to know, what was it that brought you to study science and then ended up working in sound branding industry?
So sound branding, just to be very transparent about it, was an accident and a right-hand turn on the career path. So I was always interested in biology and marketing. So I did this sort of marketing biology double major. And at the time, that didn't really make sense. It was just two things I liked, and I thought that I'd use one or the other. And then when I came out, healthcare advertising was a thing and a very stable thing in the United States. And so I ended up going into advertising, but really with a spin on healthcare. So my specialty was looking at data and translating PIs and prescription information into marketing data, or how do you translate this to doctors? How do you translate this to consumers? Speaking to doctors about their experience and figuring out how it was that we were going to talk about different treatments. So it's actually been really interesting over the last year, because so many of my old colleagues at Pfizer have played such a role in the news over the last couple of years. So I'm really grateful for that background and an understanding of how R&D in medicine happens and then the process to get to market. But if you are in advertising at a certain point, you love shoots. And this was when television advertising was very big. And I did not love shoots. I thought they were really stressful. I was not a fan. And so you get to that point in your, late 20s where you say, all right, this doesn't feel like it's it for me. What is it? And at just the right point, a producer friend of mine introduced me to the founder of our company, Joel Beckerman, who is a composer. And he had just gotten his first large sonic branding client. And they were asking him about agency language. So what does a retainer look like? How do we think about FTEs? And he was a prolific composer in television and entertainment, but this was a new world to him. So he was looking for somebody with my background to come in and help him navigate that world. And I said, well, I can do this for a couple of months while I figure out what's next. And then I'll be on to the next thing. I'll get him running. And 10 years later, I'm still here. But I think what I love about this, and I didn't realize at the time, and I'm not at my company, I am probably the least musical person, if I'm being totally honest. Like everybody around me just, this is their deepest passion. And I have a lot of visual arts background. But working with musicians and people who love music and composers has been such a wonderful experience. They're just a really open, vulnerable, talented group of people that every day is like, I'm not just saying this, every day really is a joy to go to work at this company.
Interesting. We have a lot in common. I mean, I studied science and I love chemistry. So working today, doing like a process is the same thing. And also same as you, I say that, I mean, I don't even know how to sing or play the instrument.
Right.
But it's the consumer insight, the creation of music and being around people in the entertainment industry. That is the fun. I love to be under what I call the concert effect.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. And what's great about the concert effect is that even for our clients, so I was in advertising for a long time, and even marketing and advertising, which is so creative in its nature, and you're creating products, but people are so used to it. Whereas with our branding clients, especially, you walk in and you have a music meeting and they just are having a fantastic time. And the number of times I've heard, this is the best meeting of my week, or I so look forward to this, it's over and over and over. So I think that I'm very blessed to be in a position where I get to be somebody's best meeting of the week.